air resistance and terminal velocity, right?
Push or a pull.
So does anyone know about this phenomenon?
Good.
What is air
Good.
resistance and what is terminal
Rupa,
velocity?
what is the force?
Just give me a
Push
glimpse,
or pull
just a
upon an
rough idea,
object
if
when
anyone knows about it.
getting a
Sir,
contact.
Yes, Mashal,
Getting
Interaction
raise your
basically.
hand and answer.
The
That's a good
Yes,
interaction.
Mashal.
point. Yeah,
Then
getting
Ran.
in contact. Okay, we will discuss this point soon, right? Okay, so yeah, overall it was a good feedback. Everyone was correct.
Can you speak
Okay, so
loudly?
let's start with the discussion with the types of force. Right? We will discuss ki what is a force. So as everyone said, ki a force is a push or a pull, right? And yes, that is correct. So if I choose color, okay. Imagine you have a box. Okay, why is it not accepting my input? Okay, let me change my color.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yes, Ran. You want to add on?
sir, air resistance is like it opposes the motion. So, like if anything is falling from in the air,
Yeah, okay.
the air will produce drag.
Hmm. So you can say sort of opposing force, right? So, what about terminal velocity? Any glimpse on terminal velocity?
The
Yes, Mashal.
terminal velocity is like constant velocity. When an object is falling and it reaches like I guess a terminal speed, so it gets like terminal velocity.
Yeah, that's good, right? That is good. So now let's think of a experiment, right? Let's think of a practical scenario. Okay, let's say we're doing bungee jumping, right? Let me show off my Picasso skills, right? I believe that now everyone is a fan of them, is a fan of my skills. So imagine this. Okay, you have a hot air balloon over here. Okay, and this is your hot air balloon. Let me draw the balloon. Okay, so you are basically jumping from here, right? You are basically doing paragliding. Okay, and you have parachute in your backpack. And when you think you're near the earth surface, you will open the parachute, right? Let's say this is Sarkodama, right? And he's trying to prove a point, right? Achari, now think I'm just free falling, right? I'm just falling in air, right? Without any parachute right now. So what is the force that is pulling me down?
Gravitational force.
Yeah, that is my weight, right? So my weight is pulling me down. What force will try to stop me?
Air resistance.
Yeah, so you have opposite force over here that is called air resistance, right? So my W is corresponding to weight of my body, right? Weight of my body. And what is the air? AR corresponds to air resistance, right? Okay. So now you are basically, let's say you jumped from your hot air balloon and now you're accelerating, right? You're accelerating downwards, right? Okay. So what would happen initially with the weight? Okay. So there are three phases over here. आपका first stage is when your weight is greater than air resistance, and when your weight basically becomes equal to air resistance, right? Okay. अच्छा जी. So now think of these stages carefully कि हो क्या रहा है आप. So let's talk about my stage one. Okay. This is stage one. Let's say. So my weight is greater than air resistance because let's say when I jumped from the hot air balloon, obviously I would accelerate downwards, right? Because मेरे weight का जो force है, let's say my weight is coming about to be 800 newtons. Okay, and initially my air resistance value is 200 newtons, right? So it is the drag, it is the opposition of air particles against my body, which is trying to stop me, right? So now I have 800, which is greater than 200, right? This is my case over here. Okay. So I am now accelerating. This is very important over here. When my weight is greater than air resistance, I am accelerating. Why? Think about Newton's third law, Newton's second law. Let me just erase this. Newton's second law. So what is Newton's second law? How do we relate force and acceleration? It's the resultant force equals to mass time acceleration. Yeah. So we have someone over here with infinite mobility. Can you share your name? Maria or Iman?
Maria.
Maria. Okay. Welcome, Maria. So, Maria, we are doing basically forces, dynamics. We have started the chapter. So, we are doing air resistance and terminal velocity, right? So, whenever you have a query, just raise your hand, okay? Okay. So, up, how do I find resultant forces? You have one force that is downwards, okay, and you have one force that is upwards, air resistance, right? Your entire body is basically moving downwards, okay? So, acceleration direction आपके पास क्या है? It's downward, right? So you would have to find resultant force. Okay, what is the remaining force after I remove the air resistance that is causing my acceleration? Does that make sense? So if I write this down over here, that weight minus air resistance is the remaining force that is causing my body to accelerate, will give me the final value of my acceleration. If this equation makes sense, give me a thumbs up. If this equation makes sense, give me a thumbs up. It makes sense to Mashal, Ruba, Varda. Okay.
सर वापस एक्सप्लेन कर दें.
Just imagine this. This is your body. ठीक है, बॉडी लेट्स से खुदामा के, एंड आपके पास एक फोर्स नीचे लग रही है द वेट, एंड यू हैव वन फोर्स एट द टॉप. ठीक है, यू वांट टू फाइंड द रिजल्टेंट फोर्स. ठीक है, एंड आई एम टेकिंग दिस डायरेक्शन टू बी पॉजिटिव. ये डायरेक्शन पॉजिटिव है, दिस डायरेक्शन इज पॉजिटिव. ठीक है, सो आई हैव पॉजिटिव वेट एंड नेगेटिव ए आर. ठीक है, बिकॉज ए रेजिस्टेंस इज इन द ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन, तो ये डायरेक्शन नेगेटिव है. ठीक है, सो आई हैव वेट माइनस ए रेजिस्टेंस, so I will have 800 minus 200 equals to mass times acceleration. So it is the 600 newtons that is remaining, that is being applied on my body, जो मुझे accelerate कर रही है, right? So I have 600 equals to mass time acceleration. So if I want to find acceleration, that comes out to be 600 divided by mass of my body, जो भी मेरी mass है body है, ठीक है? So that will give you the answer in meter per second square. So does that make sense? If it makes sense, give me a thumbs up. I will just recognize किसको समझ नहीं है. Does this make sense? Okay, it makes sense to Mashal, Ruba. Okay, it makes sense to Varda, Hamza also, not to Maria, not to Maeve, not to Ryan. Okay, let me just insert a page. I'm just saying this. You have a body, okay? We have seen free body diagrams. We know how to add forces. We have a body K, right? We have just two forces acting on the body. That is the weight of the body and the air resistance side. अब मैं जो डायरेक्शन ले रहा हूँ, if the force vector is downwards, I will take it as positive. If it is upwards, I will take it as negative. ठीक है? So I want to find the resultant force. What is the resultant force? It basically removes the opposing forces. ठीक है? It finds कि कौन कितनी force, how much force is left, which is causing my body to accelerate downwards. ठीक है? So I will remove the force which is blocking my path, right? So if I just find the resultant force, that is going to be RF. So my resultant force is going to be plus W. I'm just adding them, right? जो हम कर चुके हैं पहले. Plus negative of air resistance, right? So my resultant force is coming out to be weight minus air resistance. Now does this make sense? Now does this part make sense? Thumbs up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Maeve, make sense? Okay, good. So I'm just saying कि जब मैंने jump करी from the hot air balloon, so initially I would accelerate, right? I would basically move pretty fast through the air, right? Because I am accelerating by a value of this. It's just a hypothetical values, ठीक है? It will change according to questions. ठीक है? This is case one. So initially I would accelerate, ठीक है? So now let's reach a case. Let's reach case number 2. ठीक है? There would be a point जहाँ पे मेरा weight और air resistance would be same, right? That is case number 2. So let's discuss that case number 2, right? Okay. So this is some fun activities for, you can say, foreigners. Pakistanis also do it, but in northern areas. Okay. Let's imagine the case number 2, which is saying okay, now your weight is equals to air resistance, right? Now imagine this is your body K. Now this is your weight, and this is your air resistance. Okay. So now if I want to find the resultant force that is causing my body to move down, okay. Now imagine कि मेरे पास my W is also 600 newtons and my air resistance is also 600 newtons, right? So I want to find okay, what is your Newton's second law? That is force equals to mass time acceleration. You want to find resultant force. Okay, you want to find resultant force. That would be weight. We have seen that. Okay, how do we add up, right? That is going to be weight minus air resistance. That is going to be mass time acceleration. So this is also 600. This is also 600 equals to ma. Right? Make sense? So now this part goes to what? 0. Okay. So if you want to find acceleration now, this comes out to be 0 upon m. That is 0. So your acceleration when your force, your air resistance is same as your weight is going to be 0. That means at this particular point, your velocity, your speed is going to be constant. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? If it makes sense, thumbs up. So let me just read it out कि क्या लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे. So as the object accelerates, the air resistance opposing its motion increases, right? So it will increase till it basically becomes equal to your weight, right? So this reduces your acceleration. You can see that initially your acceleration was 600 upon m. Okay, it was a huge value. Now it has gone to 0. So it has reduced, right? It was initially positive. Now it has reduced to 0 at the maximum point when your weight is same as your air resistance, right? So eventually air resistance acting upwards equal the weight. That is important over here. Air resistance equals the weight over here. Okay, and then the resultant force acting on the object is 0, right? Then at this particular point, your object falls at constant velocity, which is called terminal velocity, right? Okay, so what happens over here if I draw the graph of speed time graph? Let me just draw the speed time graph. How will it look like? It will look like this. Okay, this is your time, this is your speed. So initially it would accelerate, it would go to 0. It would basically become constant, right? So this was your till this particular point, it was your case 1. Okay, and after from point A to point B, it is case number 2, right? Make sense? तो यहाँ पे आपके पास your weight is greater than air resistance. At this particular point from point 8 onwards, your weight is equals to air resistance. ठीक है? Imagine this body. This body is falling. This is the weight, and this is the air resistance. ठीक है? Does that make sense? Does this idea make sense? If it makes sense, give me a thumbs up. And if basically जो thumbs up नहीं होंगे वो पूछ ले हमसे. Yes, Mashal.
Sir, can you please explain it again?
What graph? This graph?
Yes, the graph.
Okay, so you can see कि what is this graph showing? It is showing increasing speed, right? हमने पढ़ा था in your chapter 1. How do we plot graphs? This is increasing speed, right? Right? This is increasing speed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we know how do we get acceleration from the slope, right? So your acceleration is going to be basically increasing. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it basically goes to maximum value and it becomes constant, right? So यहाँ पे your acceleration is 0 because इसका slope is 0. Because if you find the slope of a horizontal straight line, the slope is going to be 0. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. This is showing that your acceleration, your body is accelerating. Right? This is showing that your body is accelerating. And this part is showing that your body is not accelerating. Does that make sense? If it makes sense to everyone, give me a thumbs up. Okay, it makes sense to Hafza, Ashal, and Ruba. Maeve, is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you have question, please ask. If anyone has question, ask, right? Just don't stay quiet. I just basically used the example using values that it makes sense to everyone easily, right? If I just read out these definitions, you guys would not understand, right? So we chose the example. I believe it makes sense now, right? Now you can just see this example. Okay, they are paragliding, okay, and they reach a point where basically they are moving at constant, they are at constant speed, right? So they can then play around with their bodies. They can make motions, right? They can form patterns. And if you want to watch videos, you can just go to YouTube and check out the pattern, right? You would observe the that they would accelerate in the start, and then they would reach constant velocity just because they would be moving constant, and then they would open your parachute, and they basically fall down at a very slower speed, right? So they're playing with the air resistance, right? Okay, so now I believe this is clear to everyone